HTC dodges a big bass-boosted bullet with their divestiture of Beats Audio, but not to worry, Apple is here to dive right on top of that big BS bag of bunk. We'll talk about that, plus feature and review coverage already underway here at Pocketnow on one of the world's highest-end smartphones and one of its most affordable. And increasingly hot rumors from LG, Motorola, and even Microsoft. All that plus your listener mail on episode 095 of the Pocketnow Weekly, the once-a-week audio podcast where we discuss smartphones, tablets, wearables, and other gadgets you dreamed of owning when you were young. From Boston, Massachusetts, the land of abundant polar seltzer, I'm your host, Michael Fisher, editorial director at Pocketnow. Hello. Your first officer today will be chief news editor and call quality judge extraordinaire, Stephen Schenk. Good afternoon to you.
Good afternoon, sir. You know, I thought we were off to a real alliteration-heavy weekly there, but we already blew it. We're going to have to start over.
We're not going down that well. It's going to be very
so much fun.
We're saving ourselves before we start. Joining us as well from the hopefully rain-free state of Utah, he'll tell us in a second, the Pocketnow power user himself, Joe Levi. Hey, man.
We've just received all of our annual supply of rain in the last 20 minutes. Which is why my video has been delayed, because lightning and computers don't mix.
They sure don't. I hope you have not been talking on an old-school telephone wired into the wall while taking a shower in that storm.
Oh, pish-posh.
No. Luckily, it was a VoIP modem phone in the shower.
Oh, still in the shower, though. Good.
Yeah.
That's why you get those waterproof VoIP phones. Stephen, what are you talking about? Have you not seen the photos of lightning having burned its way through an old phone receiver's earpiece? And struck someone right in the brain pan?
I'm pretty sure that would only give me superpowers.
Actually, that's a good point. You're right. And which reminds me, afterwards we have to go to that radioactive waste dump near your house.
I will bring my crazy straw.
That sounds good. We have some announcements here going on. Joe Levi, I want to ask you before we get down to business, though, is the rain going to ruin your planned camping expedition? Because I know you were planning on that.
Well, because I'm such a
awesome dad,
laid-back kind of guy, camping may just not be in a tent. It may be in a hotel instead. But we will still go, and there will be hiking, and we will work in s'mores somehow.
Get in the car, kids. We're going hiking and
so much the wilderness as Las Vegas.
Yeah.
Exactly. We can go to I can actually drive to Vegas from my house.
How would Guy Fieri?
I could do that.
See what bugs are hanging out on the fake ficus trees by the sliding doors. It'll be a great trip.
And maybe kill some desert tortoises while I'm there, because that's only a problem if you're a rancher.
Hey, maybe leave those alone. They didn't do anything to you. I don't get the joke because I'm not a Midwesterner, but that's all right. Neither are you. Are you just a Westerner? A mountain man? What is it?
I'm a Westerner.
Okay.
I'm an Injun.
An Injun. Well, why don't we get to some announcements, unless Stephen wanted to jump in with some wit there?
Well, now I'm just hungry for figs. We were talking about ficus trees. I might want to.
I went to Bartley's Burger Shack for lunch while I was taking sample photos for this comparison, and I think it's called Burger Cottage, maybe. I don't know. It was in Harvard Square. It was a great time. This comparison I'm referring to was between the Sony Xperia Z2 and the HTC One M8, everyone. That is the next slated comparison for this Xperia Z2 from GSM Nation. The first one was the Galaxy S5 comparison. That is already up. The one before that was the hands-on. And our full review will be coming early next week. So if you have specific elements you need us to cover because we are late on this device having gotten to the U.S. quite late, let me know.
Man, I am sore about that.
What about
I know Sony's got its whole, we want to focus on Europe and all thing, but after that tease of the Verizon bag Z2, it's like, come on, just throw us a bone. Because we in the U.S. here are still, clinging to our smartphone subsidies until they're, ripped out of our hands. And even at an unlocked, $700 price, I don't think the Z2 has any chance of.
Yeah, I mean, the only thing better than an unlocked device is a carrier-locked device that you can't do what you want with, because we all love that.
We do, though, is the thing.
I was putting sarcastices around that, everybody. No flames.
Sarcastices? I've never heard that term before.
You've never heard sarcastices? Okay.
I have not heard.
If you haven't, quick rundown. If you say something that is sarcastic and you're afraid someone might not realize it's sarcastic, you put sarcastices around it. It's kind of like apostrophes, but for sarcasm.
No, I use sarcasm HTML tags is what I do.
Do you know what's so...
Are those not standard?
So this is like the most confusing search you can do on the internet, like Xperia Z2 Verizon, because I'm reading a story about Sony's next flagship smartphone is here. Meet the Xperia Z2. That's the headline. This is on entertainment.verizon.com, which you look at the URL, you look at the headline.
But that's not Verizon Wireless, is it?
No, and also it's not even like Verizon's blog. It's a web portal for Verizon customers that is rerunning a story from BGR from February, I should add. Yeah. This is
Verizon keeping you on top of the latest news.
Oh my God, what a mess. All right, so we don't know what the hell the deal is with carrier support of the Z2. So it's coming unlocked this summer. That's all we know, right?
Here's what we know. There may be a phone that may or may not be on Verizon, and it may or may not be unlocked, and it might or might not be an Xperia Z.
That's a fairly succinct rundown. First, yeah. Put it on the wire right now. Well, we do know also that this device is already available from GSM Nation. You've heard the plug plenty of times on the comparisons, and you will hear it again on the review. But just in case you haven't seen those, GSMNation.com. They loaned us this review unit. We're very thankful, and they are currently offering the unit for sale. It's a U.S.-based retailer, and they're pretty cool people. So,
see, it's a loaner for now. What happens when your waterproof tests of this guy don't turn out so well?
I've been very careful with it, actually.
Then it's a soggy loaner.
Believe me, I learned my lesson. And I have recently found out, listeners, you may remember I ruined a Z1S by dropping it too hardly. That's a nice word. Into water too roughly, and it popped open. The impact popped open the protective door on the micro SD slot or whatever. So I've been very ginger with this device, and fortunately, that has turned out well for me so far. I was even filming it at the bottom of a fountain, and the fountain had some rose petals floating in it, and I used some of the rose petals to protect the device from scratches on the bottom of it.
Oh, isn't that nice?
I know.
Yeah.
I treat this thing very well, I'll have you know. Not just because it's purple.
It sounds like you have some kind of a relationship with this device, and you're treating it nicely and to roses.
There's nothing wrong with letting a device know how you feel. Every now and then.
I'm not saying it is. I just want to make sure we're all in the same train of thought there.
Just telling you. So this review will be up soon. We should also mention Taylor Martin has also put up a review recently of quite a different device. This is also Verizon Wireless. The LG Lucid 3. Stephen pretty much encapsulates this review, it sounds like. Now, you proofread this one, right, Stephen? So you're more acquainted with this review than I am. One of the lower scores we've seen in a long time, a 5.7 for this device.
Wait, is that out of 10?
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow.
This continues with LG's practice of releasing one or two really good devices and then a boatload of crap along with that.
Yeah.
Wow.
And I was challenging Taylor on this because I was like, surely that it can't have this low a score. Like, it's kind of unusual for a device to have this low a score outside of the mid-range. But of course, this is firmly in the mid-range. And I'm like, but come on. I mean, think about that. What if you're stuck on Verizon? You know, you've got a contract. You don't want to leave that carrier, and you just want a kind of a no-frills thing. Wouldn't it be worth buying? But Taylor's response was no, but then he backed that up also. But like the Moto X is like free on a contract at Verizon right now or something, right?
And even if it's like
$0 on contract and like you can get.
I mean, we're talking like $50 or so. This sounds so objectionable. Just find a way to pull together that 50 and get a slightly better model so you're not stuck with this for the next 2 years.
Right. I love this. I've never seen this much red on a scored for me graph, by the way. But the reader engagement on this is outstanding. This review's been up for a couple days. It's very nice, as all of Taylor's reviews are. The layout is beautiful. He has a shot or two of his attractive lady friend talking on the phone. That's wonderful. A lot of screenshots. This is great.
It's his mom.
He even ran benchmarks on this mid-range phone. It's not his mom. And comments 4. Nobody cares.
That says it all, folks.
Nobody cares. But everyone in the community
it's not
also
that nobody
ran
cares.
reviews.
He just did such a good job answering all the questions. No
Nothing
one
left to be
felt the
said.
need to.
Right.
Exactly.
It's funny, but
Either that or his mom's moderating. One of the two.
No, it's weird because when I started seeing the reviews drop for the Lucid 3, I'm like, wow, a lot of people reviewed this thing. This must have been aggressively pushed to a lot of outlets. So,
which is a weird thing to do for a phone that the company's not going to be really confident about.
it is a very strange thing to do, and you got to wonder about that, especially with something really pretty intense on the horizon. But we'll talk a little more about the positive side of LG's offerings, hopefully, in a little while. I want to get through the rest of these announcements here. The Pocketnow Power User is about to be here, right, Joe? Why don't you tell us about this newly resurrected series that comes to us from the creator of Android Power User?
So yes, what we are doing is a little bit of background about Android Power User. We found in all of our Android videos that we were repeating a lot of the steps and a lot of things in every video that we were doing. It was making the videos really quite long and, crappy. So we decided to make this library of videos that we called the Android Power User to serve as a foundation upon which all these other videos could rely. If you didn't know how to do this, go back to that video and watch it. And it was awesome, and we had a wonderful first season, and we accomplished everything that we needed to, and that was the end of that. And since then, we've been looking at how to bring that back, and a lot of what we covered for Android is still already done and covered. Obviously, some things have changed since then, but what about everybody else? So we decided in Season 2, we're renaming it from Android Power User to the Pocketnow Power User. And this season is going to focus on hardware, and it is not going to be Android or any particular platform specific. It's going to be about all of the hardware that you use in your mobile lifestyle and what it is, why it is, and really help you get the best bang for your buck.
I am definitely looking forward to this. I go to Joe Levi videos when I really need to learn something in depth about the technology behind my devices. So
I want to see a review of JTAG interfaces on there.
JTAG interfaces.
That might be Season 3.
All right.
Joe,
if you have bricked your device, JTAG is your friend. If you have not,
I should mention
it'll help you brick it.
I don't know if I mentioned this last week or not, but we talked a little bit about the hardware abstraction layer on a podcast a couple weeks ago. I didn't know what I was talking about, and I didn't realize that it was kind of a standard thing that you need on smartphones. So, Joe, I hope that one day you will get around to telling us, not today, that you will get around to telling us what a hardware abstraction layer is and why we should care.
Yes,
okay.
That is something that I would love to do. Before we do that, we've got to lay a little bit more framework with actual hardware. Okay. Then we can get to the layer that sits between the hardware and the other stuff.
And then we can get abstract. We can start painting funny designs on things.
I miss direct access to hardware.
Oh.
Wasn't that fun, messing with interrupts and ruining things with incompatibility?
In a nutshell,
no, Joe.
No, I gotta do it.
We don't have time.
I gotta do it.
We have to go through. No, actually, Joe, and I'm going to say no to you, but this is
well. I'm
going to
say yes to me.
Well, you go ahead and do that, just silently. Just turn the mute on first. No, I'm going to say no to you for right now because the listener mail I have freaking stacked with Joe Levi specific questions that I've been holding on to for like months, and they're really technical. So you're going to get to have your bit of fun time.
My techgasm?
Your technogasm. Ooh, all right. Twitter joke. Okay. Also, Joe Levi, we're going to hear more from him in the review sense as well because the HTC Desire 816 review will be coming soon from Joe. Joe, I just sent it to you today.
I saw a picture with a tracking number on it, but I have not yet tracked the number on that picture.
It'll be a couple days, and you're getting it as well alongside a Harmon K-Dron HTC One M8. So that you can compare the two and such.
They will be compared and contrasted and all kinds of fun stuff.
Good.
Man, I want some smartphones in the mail to look forward to.
I don't. You never say such. I'm
going to start sending myself my old phones.
Content there with your Nokia dumb phone that you. Yeah.
Can I send him the Nexus S?
Yeah. I think he'll send it back. And finally,
that's the phone nobody wants.
Also important, the Nokia X. Our giveaway winner, Uzair Tariq, and maybe this is because I can't pronounce it, but we have reached out to him several times. The Nokia X giveaway winner, He has not yet responded.
Actually, I have news.
What?
Since we began recording this very episode, he emailed me. I now have an address to which I can send the device.
There he is. All right.
But I do have to go through and do a factory reset from Nokia source files rather than just on the device to unroot it.
Okay.
So that'll be fun.
Well, that's great.
I think you can handle that, yeah.
Oh, yeah, I can do it.
News.
Just take me a couple more days to get to him. So.
I'm glad, because I was worried he wasn't going to, he wasn't going to be getting this Nokia X. We would have to send it to somebody else. Well, that's great news. Joe, thank you for handling that. Wonderful.
Glad to do my part. And congratulations.
Yes.
This is a nice little device. Once you Androidify it.
Well, yeah, once you give it a proper launcher.
Once you change everything about it, it's perfectly fine.
Right.
Well, the launcher's one thing, and go back and watch that video, little pimp for my video there.
Yeah.
Well, launcher's a big part, but getting the whole Google Play services and the Play Store on it so that you can do anything, once you've done that, wow, it's a nice little device. It's not fast by any stretch of the imagination, and it only has one button on it, but it's nice. I would give this to my kids. It's a nice little device.
It only has one button?
Yeah,
what button?
And it's a back button.
It has a back button.
Because, of course, when you put a button on it, one button on the face of a device, you want it to be the backwards button.
Yeah.
Oh, but it has like volume and stuff, right?
Well, yeah, it has up and down in power, but as far as, soft buttons,
Gotcha.
God,
it's got one capacitive button.
Fantastic.
It's
right, the little arrow one. Yeah.
So dumb.
But you can press and hold it to go home.
Joe, I'm so glad that you were able to take that and make something compelling out of it. Thank you for that step by step. Because, man, I spent about 20 minutes liking that thing, and the rest of the time I was like, get this out of my face! I hate this.
Well, the funny thing was, the video was originally going to be a how to do this.
Yeah.
And the reason it took me an extra day to do it was because it was such a pain in the neck, and there was so much trial and error. When I went to piece that video together, it was just a nightmare. So it was like, okay, here's the end result. Here's what you get. Look how cool it is. Now go over to Pocketnow and see how to do it.
See the step by step. Well,
exactly.
Nothing wrong with that. You're still giving the instructions. We are done with announcements. We have to move on because we have huge news of the week to report.
Only took half an hour. It's a good pace so far.
20 minutes. We're all right. This is big news. I'm not used to leading off with iOS news. We only do it maybe 3 times a year for product launches.
Yeah, iPhone launch, iPad launch.
Maybe other iPad launch. Yeah.
WWDC.
Yeah. But this is huge. Apple's Beats acquisition, basically, can we call it at this point? I mean, by the time the podcast goes up, this is going to be official, right? Have all the other news sources taken their speculative tags off?
I still don't know that it's confirmed yet. I don't know. The report from Financial Times is talking about it possibly getting announced next week, so we still might have a few days to go.
It seems official.
Everyone's doing it. The LA Times, New York Times, they're all doing that thing where they're not saying it, but they're saying, here's the reaction to what could be news.
Yeah, we're all going to get catfished.
Yeah, right. USA Today, just 22 minutes ago, says Beats, Apple becomes a bigger streaming music player, and so on and so forth. So, Stephen, what is the story here?
Well, Apple just paid way too much money for Beats. Report came out last night that Apple had been in talks with Beats Electronics, which is the same company, Beats Audio, these headphone guys who had been holed up with HTC in the past, claiming that Apple was going to buy Beats for this ridiculous $3.2 billion sum.
That's 3.2 beatsillion.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, capital B.
Which represents a significant valuation increase based on what HTC was, or what it was worth when HTC was involved. Because HTC in the past had owned a little over half of it at its highest and started selling it off and had, I think, about a quarter of it left. It got rid of late last year. So HTC is completely done with Beats at this point. And I believe back then its quarter share was worth something like $240 million. So we're looking at a valuation of about $1 billion total. And now it's worth $3 billion that Apple is involved. It's crazy. It's as, WhatsApp all over again.
I got stuck in the comments of this news post. The guy who says, "Hey, Android fanboys," and then there's that photo of President Obama. Drinking a milkshake. You mad though? So this is my thing. All right. So
let me speak for all Android fanboys. No, we're not mad.
3.2
billion.
This is crazy.
Wow.
So this is the biggest acquisition in Apple's history, right?
We don't have a nice list of, chart here of Apple acquisitions over the years.
Yeah, I know.
I always thought this obsession or this interest that smartphone companies had with Beats was really weird to begin with. It just didn't seem like the sort of company that, well, at the beginning at least, didn't seem like the sort of company that a smartphone manufacturer would necessarily want to associate with. We rarely hear about them getting so invested with accessories. Now that Beats has this streaming business, though, I guess things have changed. But then at the same time, Apple seems like might be the last company to be interested in this because it already has all this music stuff on its own. There's already been this talk of it, developing its streaming assets further, giving more options to users. It feels weird to kind of bring in a third party at this point.
Okay, but my question here is, Beats does a lot of stuff with hardware and making the software talk to the hardware and making stuff sound really, really good. Are we going to see this Beats technology integrated into the headphones that come with new Apple products? And if so, are they going to direct the audio down the ear canal better than the current headphones?
I don't think Beats has a reputation as really high-quality hardware. Beats is popular and it sounds good, but it isn't like high-end audiophile stuff. It's mass market. I read a really interesting analysis. I'm sorry, I forget who this came from, so apologies to the source in advance, but it was saying that Apple's interest might be more focused on Beats' experience in marketing, talking about how they sort of took headphones, which had been seen as a relic of like big, bulky headphones, not earbuds. It had been seen as this antique way to listen to music. They made it popular again, and maybe that could be the sort of promotional instincts that Apple's looking for as it brings the iWatch to market.
That's interesting because I was just looking at something from Business Insider, which was a bit of speculation saying that this acquisition is also not necessarily about Beats as a brand or the equipment itself, but is about bringing aboard Jimmy, I can never pronounce his last name, Iovine?
Yeah.
To directly advise CEO Tim Cook on creative matters. Once again, this is Business Insider. This is Steve Kovach from, I believe, Today. Yeah, it is Today. So, I mean, that would be really interesting, and that would be more in line with what I would expect from Apple as a strategic move to, because the gist of this speculation is that Jimmy Iovine thinks that the way we listen to music is sort of broken as a model. And considering how often I have said that repeatedly about iTunes and the way Apple's music management experience is kind of stuck in 2005, I think that makes a degree of sense. It certainly makes a lot more sense to me than trying to fit into my head the fact that Apple just paid over $3 billion for software that people kind of roundly condemn as being destructive to music in terms of the boosting effect. Yeah. B, software that provides a streaming platform that's really not very good from what I understand. And C, headphones that, yeah, they're popular, but I don't know, it just doesn't seem like a reason to drop that kind of coin.
They're pretty.
Yeah, they are pretty. And people buy them. People go out of their way to buy them because the brand has power, certainly. So
could this be chalked up to iTunes isn't that great and Beats isn't that great, but you put the two together, they cancel each other out, and something miraculous happens?
I don't know. I mean, certainly we saw HTC try to do something with that, and I kind of want to talk about this a little because you can't really talk about how this is going to work out for Apple without touching on how it really didn't work out for HTC, right?
Yeah.
I mean, HTC announced this. This was, I think, 2010 when they bought their big stake in Beats, because the Resound came out in 2011. So I think I'm getting that timeline right.
Yeah, it was 10 or 11.
Yeah. And I thought it was a really great idea because here we had a company that was trying to do something different in smartphones by focusing on an experience that was basically being ignored with these in-box earplugs and that were kind of crap and whatever. So let's get on board with these people who do, if not really great, then at least well-perceived headphones, and let's do some software and stuff, and then we can co-brand, and thus our devices will be more desirable for having this brand on them. I thought that was, I mean, it's not new and original business thinking. I just thought it was a good, concrete idea. And then HTC really didn't leverage it too well, right?
Yeah, like so many HTC ideas, it sort of is kind of inspiring at first, and then nothing really comes of it. We got, how many devices actually shipped with the Beats earphones bundled in?
And not many, because they almost immediately took those out.
Right.
And they supplanted them with the HTC buds that were also black and red, but they weren't Beats. They were just kind of crappy in-box headphones.
But they had the Beats logo on the device, which made everything better.
Yeah, and by the way, I want to say that I think Beats it gets a bad rap a lot of the time, because when you try to attract people based on an audio quality, it makes sense that people who care about audio quality will pay attention. And when those kind of people pay attention to Beats, they see how destructive it is to the music. It's like, no, this sucks. It's just amping up the volume and putting a lot of bass on it.
Okay, so...
But that was useful to me in loud environments called, like, the subway, where I spend a lot of time. So I liked Beats for that reason. But go ahead, Joe.
I was just going to say, since we have this music thing that we're talking about here, and Beats is kind of good or not good, depending on who you ask there, why not go all in and do something like a THX or a DTS certification on a smartphone or a phablet or a tablet?
Ooh.
Let's get some real good audio in there, get a certification, and stamp that puppy on there.
Well, that would be interesting, but I mean, why hasn't anybody done that, Joe? I don't know anything about this, so what is the hurdle there?
That rings a bell. I'm looking up here. It looks like back in 2001 there were rumors of THX smartphones, but then nothing came of it.
Really?
Were they Verizons? Were they branded Droid? Was it some George Lucas tie-in thing?
Well, then it would have been Bell Atlantic Mobile.
Oh, the coolest story, too.
THX,
no, I mean,
the Phone Arena was reporting something similar in 2011, September 5th.
Yeah, that's what I'm looking at.
Oh, you said 2001.
Oh, I saw the one.
It's all the same thing. A decade doesn't mean anything.
It predated smartphones by 5-6 years.
Oh, man. Yeah, we reported
We
on
let
that.
him slide.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, if we're going to do it, let's really do good, clean audio that is focusing on the movie experience. I don't know if we have the source for that yet. Does Netflix stream something that high quality to mobile devices? We may have a chicken and an egg thing with it, but if we're really going to look at making our audio sound beautiful on these devices, let's go for one of those theater quality certifications and make it sound good.
It's so funny. Like, you start talking about that, Joe, and I there's nothing about what you've said that I disagree with, but halfway through your sentence, my mind started wandering. And it's just because I start to think, like, how many people actually care about this? It's kind of like the 2K screens thing. It's like, we're already so gorgeous at 1080p. Why do we care about making that leap into 2K when most people aren't going to be able to tell the difference? Same thing on the audio side.
But it's the point now with phones where everything is so pretty much really good across the board. You have to find these few things where we're not really standing out.
Yeah, but they're the wrong things. I don't think that audio is the place to play in this. I think a user experience thing of like a calendar that works without you can make an appointment without having to do 17 taps. I think that's the thing.
That was HTC's very expensive lesson from its involvement with Beats.
And also they went halfway on it. They did not execute fully. Now, I don't see Apple going that route, but I also cannot bring myself to see an iPhone with Beats branding on it or something similar, where it's like, get the new Apple iPhone now with Beats audio. Like, I don't...
No, Apple's not very cross-branding friendly like that.
Exactly.
They're not going to put any logos on. They don't even have carrier logos on there. And
right.
No, they're not going to put a Beats logo on their hardware.
Certainly not on the hardware, and not even in the software, too. Remember how, like, on an HTC phone that had Beats, when you'd plug in the headphone jack, you'd fire up the music track, it'd have the persistent Beats logo in the notification shade?
Ew.
Yeah.
Yeah, that wasn't annoying.
Yeah, but you could toggle it, though. That was the handy part about it. But Apple's not even going to do that. So what do we think is going to happen to the Beats brand overall? Like, what if this acquisition is just for the expertise and not at all the cachet? That would be interesting if Apple just was like, no, we're Apple. We don't need the Beats brand. The Beats brand is going away.
Beats has too much of a place in the market outside of anything smartphone related that you have to keep selling these headphones as they are now. I mean, I think I read they control something like 60% of the market within some certain age group, but that's too big to let go.
Wow. Is it really? I'm looking that up now. Beats by Dr. Dre about
Let's go way outside the box here. What if we're looking at this from the wrong perspective, and this isn't Beats coming to Apple? What if this is more about Apple going to Beats and selling Apple-branded Beats stuff? and maybe even getting away from the typical headphone jack and using the lightning port for it.
No,
that is
that's such a bad idea.
That is outside the box.
Hey, it's outside the box. I'm not saying it's good or bad, but what if? What if this is all about how...
It's all right, I'll go with you on that, Joe. As long as we're outside the box. I want to talk about the next iPhone. No, the iPhone after the next one not having a 3.5mm headphone jack because Apple and Beats teams have joined forces to create the world's best wireless music streaming protocol.
Shut your mouth.
No, I mean, that's what I want. That is what I want out of this. I am tired of the 3.5mm headphone jack.
We got the wireless thing that you're talking about there, but what if we go all into the lightning port? This has already been debunked, but what if using that lightning port is what they're going to be using for audio going forward that helps bring in health monitoring, heart rate monitor, stuff like that for all of the fitness stuff. Well, that was debunked, but why not? Well, why not do that?
Why, I don't know. I mean, because Beats isn't a part of it. And
How do you charge your phone when you're listening to music?
You know what I want? I want an iPhone that comes with the headsets from the National Football League umpire, the referees. With the big
giant Motorola ones?
Yeah, the big Motorola ones with the big boom mic on them. That's what I want out of this. So, really, it's considering this news is not officially even confirmed yet, still, right, Stephen? We're not seeing anything pop up yet.
AFAIK.
Yeah, we're gonna see what happens here. But tell me, guys, to sort of close this out, how many people are kicking themselves at HTC about this?
HTC could have avoided all of its financial difficulties. It was holding on to those. I mean, maybe the deal wouldn't have happened if HTC still had those shares. But Christ, a $1.5 billion cash influx.
And they came out slightly on top, by the way, by selling their shares back. I mean,
that was, I think, the only way they turned a profit in the last quarter of last year.
Yeah, it was because of the Beats sell-off.
Yeah, well, if it's a marketing thing, you look at it, they were able to sell more devices by having it in there. They were able to sell back their investment and make more than what they put into it. All around, it's a win for HTC. And if they don't have it anymore...
Not anymore. No. It's not, because now their competitor, like a big, important competitor of theirs, now owns all of it and can leverage that against them,
Sure, but HTC already decided they got everything that they needed out of it.
No, they
didn't. They've moved on.
No, they moved on because they couldn't get what they wanted out of it, I think,
That's a possibility.
It's going to be very curious to see how
I wonder what's HP thinking about all this.
I wonder that too, because Beats is still a co-branded entity on some HP laptops, yeah?
Yeah, and tablets, too.
Tablets as well, yeah. I mean, like the touchpad, the HP touchpad I'm looking at right now has Beats audio.
Oh, so now we got to have more licensing that we pay to Apple?
Unless Apple just decides to terminate that agreement, which I would not be surprised to see them do.
With extreme prejudice.
It would be a contract that they've entered into with Beats that now survives the acquisition to Apple, so Apple would have to pay HP to get out of that contract. So
interesting stuff.
We'll pay you not to use it.
What's going to happen? Yeah, I am really hoping that this does not result in more reviews that are audio focused, though, because I tell you, it was a big pain to do that Harman Kardon review, considering I didn't know anything about audio.
Do you want to borrow my oscilloscope next time?
Yes, if you wouldn't mind.
That would be awesome.
More oscilloscopes and reviews.
Oscilloscopes.
Stay tuned for more developments on this, everybody. We are going to move on, and thankfully there's not much more iOS news in the firm territory, but we do have this iPhone 6 date rumors. Anton reported this today. August for 4.7-inch, September for 5.5-inch. Now, this is from the India Times. Stevens, what's their track record in terms of accuracy? Do you know?
No, I don't have a really good assessment off the top of my head.
Yeah, this is Economic Times, India Times, Economic Times. So, Apple to unveil iPhone 6 in August earlier than expected, claims report. Who knows, really? This is claiming a 4.7-inch screen is coming in August, yeah, and then another model will be released in September.
That seems weird for Apple to do that, though. I mean, they have the separate launches when they're doing an iPhone and an iPad, but we've always seen, well, not that there have been that many opportunities for us to see it launch multiple phones, but 5S comes alongside 5C. What's the point of delaying by a month?
There is no point. Yeah, I think that's bunk.
So my big question here is, don't we have Apple on record saying that the human hand is this size and that's how big their phones should be, and then they made one bigger than that, and now they're
getting bigger. We're healthier these days.
Okay, it's the evolution of the human that's driving this. Got it.
Fun fact: I was just reading a comment that basically made the same argument, Joe, and I had my mouth open to say, these damn commenters need to shut up, and then use the same.
Hey. I thought we were friends.
Well, let's move on from iOS news before anybody loses any sleep over lost friendships and spilled milk and broken iPhones and such. Let's talk about Android, your preferred domain. We have an event coming up in New York City on Tuesday. I will be headed down there on Monday, and I'll be covering it with Adam Lane to cover what is most probably this very device. We have a leaked picture revealing the what we think to be the Motorola Moto E. Steven?
Or the Moto, if you just want to pronounce it all at once.
Oh, that's what we're going to call it from now. Motox, Moto, and...
Motog.
Yeah.
Oh, the Motog.
Motog. Yeah, good call. What is this? So this picture looks positively grotesque.
Come on. It's not that bad.
It's bad, and
what do you expect from the...
I'll tell
part
you
of
why
it's blurry cam bad. Part of it's blurry.
It's bulky looking, but...
yes, it is. And I haven't looked at the comments yet, but I'm sure someone is complaining about the bezels already. However, Motorola cannot make few manufacturers can make a device with a white face that looks good. I cannot bear to see plastic-rimmed screens, especially with hefty bezels, that are white, because it just blows up everything. It makes it look like a toy. It makes it look awful. As you may remember, I didn't like my white Moto X after a long time because I was like, wow, it's so ugly from the front. So.
Yeah, and what happened to that one?
Did I send it to you?
Oh, that's right. Yeah, you sent it to me.
Hey, man, enjoy that. Take care of it. I like it a lot.
I love it, except for the color.
Wait, is it the white color or the blue color?
Yeah.
All right.
Well,
yeah, because the blue color is awesome.
Yeah, I like the blue color, but come on, it's a black screen for a reason. If you're gonna do a white front, somehow make the screen white when it's off.
I've said that so many times, and this is not beyond the capability of manufacturers. I don't want to hear that. When we can see awesome devices like the Motorola Aura, of that level of machined precision, when we can see a device with a curved screen like the Flex or the Gear Fit, we're living in a crazy world. LG made a clear phone a while back. Like, for F's sake, man, make a phone that can be white when it's off. I'm tired of black screens when they're off. No way.
Well, and not only that,
we can do it. It would cost $2,000. Yes, but
sure.
But let's do it anyway.
Let's do it, and then let's make it, when you turn it on, it's a white theme. So that everything blends
in. Yeah.
It's a mirror when it's off.
Yes. Uh-huh. Yes.
Oh, and then we could do blue and purple and pink. And
good. No, actually, that would be really rocking. I'm sure there are 14 million patents on it already. By the way, before I forget to say it again, Joe, you need to make sure you don't, in your crazy rooting experiments, whatever, you don't ruin my greeting thing. The hashtag Moto137 thing. I'm attached to that.
Your what?
When you turn it on. Have you not turned it on yet?
Yeah, I've turned it on. I didn't notice it. What am I missing?
Oh, all right. Well, we'll talk about it later.
All right. Maybe I just thought that
already
was
destroyed
it.
Joe's like, I'm already running Windows Mobile 6 on this thing. So I don't know.
I was just going to say that.
Well, Steven, awesome. Take us through what we can expect from this Moto E that looks like a Moto G, except it's smaller and uglier.
Yeah, so rumors of this guy came out of Mexico, of all places, and it's been looking like this new entry for Motorola's very cheap series of devices it's been doing with the Moto X and Moto G, and it sounds like this one's going to fit in at the very bottom rung. It's going to be a more affordable, sort of lower end version of the Moto G, and hopefully coming in, super duper cheap at this point. We saw it pop up in that awesome Indian import database a little earlier this week, and they have to give
awesome Indian import database.
It has changed reporting on these devices. No, I love this thing. Zaooba is the best. It tells you the names of things. It gives you screen sizes. It gives you prices. I mean, FCC don't do nothing like that.
That's cool. I dig that.
Yeah, and the price reported on this guy works out to like $105. And I mean, they can be a little different. Sometimes maybe they play with the prices for import taxes or whatnot. So it might be like, $120 or so, but it's going to be cheap.
But you make a good point here that it wouldn't be in much higher than the $160 price point, because then it's stepping on the Moto G's toes, right?
Yeah, so it's going to be somewhere $130, $140-ish probably.
Yeah, I'm excited to see this because we've talked about this a couple times, but it's going to be interesting to see how far Motorola can push the envelope on this. This is no surprise. We've heard them say, yes, we want to do a $50 smartphone and stuff. And we didn't believe it when the Moto G came out, and we were like, we talked about this last week with Miriam, and it's like, when the Moto G was announced, it's like, no way is this thing is going to be the biggest piece ever. And then it came out, it's like, wow, no, I can do most of the things I like to do on this, and it does it well.
Motorola is playing smartphone limbo right now.
Oh, yes, indeed. Mm-hmm. So we're going to see this thing in person. We're going to grab a review unit. It's going to be a lot of fun. You should stay tuned for it. I'm going to compare it with the Moto G, if you can
grab 2 or 3 review units. These things are cheap. They're going to be giving them away.
One thing that I do want to know is, how does this compare from a hardware perspective and size and general build quality to the Nokia X?
Oh, yeah.
That's a good question, Joe. And I still think the Nokia X, I think that whole line is doomed.
Does the X have a front facer?
No.
Okay.
Right, Joe?
Not that I can see, and data speeds for Edge, man, I was loving live.
You got to use both them Sims card slots.
Yeah, I was hoping maybe I could do 2 separate Edge sessions and get like
same
E+.
time? Could you co-load through
both Edge?
No, I wasn't able to do that.
Well, at any rate, I'm very excited to try this out. I think we're seeing an H+ logo on the upper right there on this blurry cam shot. This user also seems to be logged in on a Skype session.
Oh, yeah.
I would not be surprised if this were lacking in LTE, just like the Moto G is. And a couple other things going on there, but otherwise it's looking like kind of standard Android. But I hope that Motorola logo on the upper left is not there.
No, we've seen that on the test units in the past. They have little identifiable marks around the circle there to track them.
Okay.
I'm just curious if that's a stereo speaker setup. Down? My instinct says probably no, but you never know.
Yeah, that's what one of the comments down in the bottom is. Will it have 2 speakers in the front? What's with the bottom part? That's what Nerd Tech asks. Yeah, now I'm going to go back to this invitation to refresh our memory here, that if indeed this is what we're seeing on Tuesday, which we still don't know.
It's a remarkably forthright invitation. I mean, it says outright, you're going to see a new smartphone.
Yep, and Motorola's mission is to provide the world with affordable smartphones that don't compromise on quality, style, or experiences. Here's what we did with the Moto X, here's what we did with the Moto G. Now, we would like you to experience a new class of smartphone designed to make a great mobile internet experience accessible to everyone. A great mobile internet experience. Now,
interesting they specified internet there.
It is, but...
Is it not even a phone at all?
Oh, is it like... No, because... No. But like back in the day, I would have been like, yeah, this is a tiny little tablet for people. But no. I don't think so. But no, because it's a new class of smartphone. So...
Yeah, it's the smartphone without the phone. That's what makes it new.
No. My
internet
question is...
business... Yeah, go on.
My question is are we not looking at the important part of the sentence here? Make a great mobile internet experience, that's kind of what we're focusing on, but accessible to everyone. So you could argue that the mobile Chrome experience is a frickin' fantastic internet experience. I think it is, on an Android phone.
Absolutely.
So if we're just talking about bringing that experience to everyone at every price point, I think I kind of get the sense that's what we're talking about here.
Yeah, and one other thing you've got with Chrome, you've got the Google Intelligent Loading. So I don't even remember what they call that.
Oh yeah,
where they optimize the data that's sent down to you. So
yeah, that's brand
something
new,
that a lot of others don't do. Well, it's not new, but it's newish.
It was I just saw it for the first time on a review device the other day. So
it may have just made it into the Chrome browser rather than Chrome Beta. I've been on Chrome Beta for so long, I don't know what's new.
Is it weird that I've never used Chrome?
Yes, it is.
Yeah, that's very strange.
That means you're weird, too.
But it's good, Stephen, because you can maintain some outside perspective for us. That's
Yay!
Are you still using Internet Explorer? And if so, have you patched it, or do we need to format your entire life right now?
Firefox, baby, come on.
Oh, that Firefox. That's not in the rundown, but ZTE announced a new Firefox OS phone for sale on eBay.
On eBay.
I think that's
this one
interesting.
from-
It is very interesting.
They did this last year, too. They started sales of their older Firefox OS phone on eBay. And I think they sold out really quick, so it seemed to have worked for them in the past.
Yeah, I think it's pretty cool. Like, it's a novel. Anytime somebody brings a novel way of doing something, as long as it's not too ridiculous, I'm like, okay.
Cheap, free shipping, why not?
Shoot, why not? Hey, let's switch manufacturers here. So everyone, listen, we're not doing an editorial roundtable on that, but don't worry, we will have coverage for you on Tuesday of the Motorola event, which I misspoke. The event itself is in London. Yeah. Our event is in New York. So
a swanky press event.
Yes. Now look at these leaked pics. This is LG is the next manufacturer we're talking about. And I got to say, okay, so I was looking at this on mobile. Listeners, I know a lot of you look at the Pocketnow site on mobile. It's a great time. I understand. Maybe hop on over to the desktop for this one. These GSM Arena watermarked pics, one of them is kind of like whatever. The other one, I hope this is real. Steven, could this be real? Because this is the G3, and if this is the G3, I'm not talking about this gold one, because gold is the tackiest crap I've ever seen on smartphones.
Yeah,
but
somebody wrote an editorial about that.
Crap. Yeah, was it you, Joe Levi?
it might have been.
Oh.
Wait, so which are you talking about here? Which leak?
I'm talking about the leaked pics, your laser piece.
Yeah.
But
the gold one.
I'm just kind of talking about the phone itself for a second, because we're going to get to the sensor. But my God, this thing looks good from one angle. What do you think? You guys don't think so? I think the gold is tacky as shit. But when you get away from that, if you look at a silver one or some of those close-up shots of the brushed material from that other leak.
Yeah, this is LG's take on the HTC One. It's nice. It's aluminum. It's brushed. It's got the nice curve that fits your hand. It even looks kind of like it has the same camera layout.
So okay,
it looks good.
It has a curve that fits your hand. Yes, but like HTC went with a softer way, and this looks more aggressive. This looks sharper. It almost looks like an airfoil from the angle they're shooting it at.
I like the screen. I like the very small bezels. I'm not sold on two-tone looks for the front of the phone. I like to see just jet black.
Oh, not me. I like a little chin. You know what I mean?
Oh no. All black, all white, all pink, whatever. Same thing.
You guys are weird.
And then your speaker grill is a different color, so you know which side is up. And that's it.
That is important. You do need that, and that is present here. It looks like, but I'm not seeing anything that suggests any front-firing speakers, which is
that could be a problem.
Irritating because there's a big old port on the backside for that, and now
that's okay. We don't need front-facing screens either.
I lived with it on the Nexus 4 with the back speaker there. That was fine. It wasn't ideal, but
it wasn't fine.
Really?
Nothing is fine about a rear.
I learned how to hold it, so it wasn't a problem.
If you need to go on the side, that's fine. If you need,
you're saying that the problem with audio and rear-facing speakers is that we're holding it wrong. Did I just get that right?
I have more problems holding the Nexus 5 with the bottom speaker. I'm always covering it up.
That sucks if the speaker blows aft, but this thing looks worlds better than the G2. I'm really looking forward to the G3 being out. I'm really looking forward to maybe liking the hardware so that I can stop sort of biting my tongue every time I go to be like, hey, I have some feelings about the G2. I don't want to get into a lot of fights in the comments, so I'm going to shut up about it. Because I think the G2 is a plastic soap dish that has always looked awful. Awful.
Well, that's why you get the Nexus version of the G2.
Yeah, and
right?
even that, half sees at best. I don't really know. But let's talk more about this G3. Stephen, this sensor, this mysterious alien sensor, it's not a heartbeat monitor, right?
No, and I'm starting to have second thoughts about this whole sensor business because some very wise commenter pointed out that the G Flex had an arrangement very similar to this. So we didn't know what this thing was.
Blaster.
Yeah, and I assumed that an IR blaster on the back there makes no sense whatsoever based on the way you hold the phone.
It's very awkward, but it does. That's exactly how.
But that's what it was on the G Flex.
Yeah, it's very awkward. So,
but this new report is claiming that maybe it's not that at all, and it could be, and this is loose and doesn't make a lot of sense, but something with lasers that has something to do with pictures at night that somehow makes them look better.
I like the way you wrote this. The source behind them attempts to clue us in to the oval's true purpose, to conceal a laser. That's so awesome.
So if this were a laser, and if it were not a visible laser, if we're talking something outside of the visible spectrum.
Yeah, it might be infrared.
Yes,
but
if it's
still, that's weird.
It's a rangefinder.
What would that have to do with
that?
All right, hold up. There was some device that I saw marketed just a few days ago for making quick and easy 3D maps of an interior space, and it basically shot out like 12 different laser beams that landed at different points.
It's like the Kinect does, where it sends out this. Yeah. It projects a dot pattern, and then by seeing how those dots fall on things at different distances from the camera, it can sort of figure out where they lie in 3D space.
No. That you've got to have a laser array. This looks like just one.
Well, you can do it with one. You send it through a diffraction grating that projects the dots or whatever.
Yeah, come on, Joe. Come on, get with the picture, Joe. You don't know that? I knew that.
Well, we could do that, but no, this is much simpler than that. And I would put money on this if I were going to Vegas tonight, which I'm not, and I don't gamble. But if I were and I did, then hotel camping, the best kind out there. You're taking a picture, and the hardest thing that we have right now is focusing that and finding out where that focus is. So this lets you do that because it knows exactly how far away your subject is.
Cameras have been doing that for decades. That's not a hard thing to do. We don't need lasers to do that.
HTC had to put a whole separate sensor on just to get focus right.
And then how many days did it take?
Look how right they got it.
Camera update to come out.
I know. No, I like the idea though of these like secondary camera accessories. These, you have the primary lens and then you have an augment with it. But really, considering this looks an awful lot like the G Flex's implementation, I wouldn't be surprised if that was the IR port.
I have a feeling the source saw some document that said IR diode and read that as IR laser diode and not IR LED.
Right. Yeah.
Well, IR is IR, and you could control your TV with an IR laser. Okay, you probably can't, but that'd still be cool.
It would. Before we move away from the G3, why don't we learn a little bit about how everyone was immediately convinced about this display going into the G3 and probably are not wrong, but are at least partially wrong because it first went into another device, a device that I can't pronounce.
Yeah, so I guess this was Wednesday night. LG Display releases an announcement of this 5.5-inch Quad HD panel they got. We knew they were working on something like this since last year, but announcing it as they did this week, we have this presumed G3 launch event coming up, I think on May 27. Yeah, so everyone's connecting the dots saying, oh, yeah, this is going to be for that. But then hours later, we get the Isai FL for Japan, which a lot of people are saying is our G3 preview, more or less.
Yeah. I mean, it looks very similar to the device we saw in the leaks, except with reduced size on those buttons under the camera there, which I think would be very difficult to hit. I'm glad they're bigger on the G series. And
I like the front on this a lot better.
So you do?
It says that, I mean, it has that little splash of color on the bottom, but I like that the bezel all around the phone on the display is largely monochromatic.
You know what it reminds me of? It reminds me of the HTC Windows Phone 8X.
Oh, yeah.
With that uniform color.
I like the look of those, and the 8S too.
Oh, me too. I thought those were great. I'm very sad that HTC is no longer really doing Windows phones.
Knock on wood.
We need bright yellow and bright blue.
Yeah.
Give me those.
Oh,
Give me those.
Great. And together even. You
sure.
Got a blue phone with a yellow chin? Sign me up.
Yeah, no.
And here, if we're going on the theory that this guy is the G3 in a slightly different shape, it's also got that sensor on the back, but it's a little longer here, and it's looking a lot more like. But this one I could buy as a fingerprint scanner. You could get a sideways swipe or something. I don't know. But
yeah, it's gray instead of the black you would expect from an IR window.
A very dark red.
Yeah, curious. And importantly, they missed the M in the name. Did anybody else think War Games when they saw this? Could this have been an IMSI 8080 or whatever it was?
What?
Joe, are you getting that?
Would you like to play a game?
Wonder the Whopper. What's the IMSI?
Oh, the Whopper. Yes. No, the IMSI was his bedroom computer. Like
that like Altair lookalike.
Yeah, with the big old disk drive.
Right?
Like when you back in the days when like you loaded a floppy disk and like you had to dog the hatch after it, or it would spin right out of its slot. It's great stuff. We need to bring the industrial touches back to computers.
I'm going to add a 5 1/4" drive to my desktop tonight.
No. You got to add the 8-inch drive because that's what's keeping the nuclear arsenal safe from hackers.
I've never had an 8-inch drive, 8-inch media, but I've never owned a drive for them.
I've never even touched one of those discs. I thought 5 1/4" floppy was as big as it got.
Oh, no. Okay.
Pause.
Big tangent here. I worked for a company called iOmega. They're still around, sort of.
Oh, you're the one who ruined all those zip drives? God damn it, Joe.
No, I'm the one who fixed them. But we had Bernoullis, which were 10 and 44 megabyte discs, and they were dinner plate size. These things were huge and had floppy media in them.
Really?
Oh man, they were something. I could go on and on about that.
What was the capacity of those things before we move on to the last bit of news?
Well, iOmega was named thusly because they had a 10 meg disc, which was amazing. A removable disc that was 10 meg. So if you write that all out, 10MEG, throw an A at the end, and you get iOmega.
Oh, no way. No way. Really?
Clever boy.
Insider information there.
That is so weak.
No, it was awesome. It was 10 megabytes, dude.
That's so...
Everyone else was like 240K, and this was 10 megabytes.
I'm sorry. Taylor's not here this week, so I have to be Captain Negativity. I guess.
You little whippersnappers don't realize what it was like.
In the world of 780K floppies.
Bits had to walk both ways uphill.
High memory.
Steven.
Yeah, it was beautiful.
All right. Well,
anyway.
I don't know why I scheduled the rundown like this, but there's another Moto piece to close out the Android. This was stupid. I should have moved that. Sorry.
It was stupid.
Stupid. I wouldn't forgive me. Don't let it go. Anyway, LG event on the 27th. So yeah, we're going to see the G3 then. I'm very much looking forward to it, and I'm just jazzed to see this hardware. And if the software turns out to be crap, and I really mean the if. Like I'm not presupposing that to be the case. If the software turns out to be not very good, considering the state of the Google Play Edition phones, I think it's reasonable to assume that we might get a Google Play Edition G3, even though LG is probably going to make the next Nexus as well.
Let's please have Google Play Editions of everything, please.
Joe,
nice.
I will enlist you, Joe, if I decide to get a G3, if I'm taken enough by it, to please make it a Google Play Edition for me.
I would be happy to do that.
You're going to get shipped back with a decal stuck onto the screen.
That would be awesome. Oh yeah, Joe, I left you some love notes in the smartphone care package today. I hope you enjoy them.
Did you? What? Oh, the one that isn't here yet?
Yeah, the one that's not there yet.
Okay. I did get a smartphone care package today that the kids came in and interrupted me.
Oh, so you did? You got that one?
No. Oh. I got a different one. Oh. This one was from LG.
What?
I finally got my wife's broken Nexus 4 back from LG after they dropped the ball on it. So
congratulations.
Brand new. This one even has the little feet on it so it doesn't walk off the desk. So woohoo.
That's outstanding.
Hey.
Yeah.
Okay, final bit of Android news. The Moto... By the way, Adam Dowd had a great editorial on how we have way too many phones called the One. Like there's the One+1, there's the various HTC ones, now it's the Moto X+1. But we're seeing more and more references of this name, official references, on the Motorola website, along with leather backplates. By the way, this story was penned by our newest news editor. How do you say his name, Stephen? Is it Rithvik?
Yeah, I believe so.
How do you say his
that's
last
what
name?
I called him when we were on the phone, and he didn't correct me, so...
So, sounds pretty good.
Yeah.
So let it be written, so let it be done.
Yes. So Rithvik Rao is our newest news editor. He's going to listen to the Pocketnow Weekly, and then he will send me an email telling me that that is not how you pronounce his last name. So whatever. We're going to get the correct pronunciation on here. He's doing a great job so far, and we're happy to have him. Motorola has told us, he says, that their next flagship will be official in late summer, but it looks like they're getting ready a bit early. There's a placeholder graphic here for an AT&T variant of the Moto X+1. It is the header image here, which is interesting. Droid Life has also found references to Sprint and Verizon Motorola cached pages as well. And it was first broken by Ev Leaks, it looks like, this leather back possibility. Would you guys get a real leather back on a phone?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
does not seem like it would hold up well to the elements.
To the rigors of daily use, right?
Would you have to put leather treatment on it and
you'd have to rub some oil into it, man.
Yeah.
Break it in a little bit like a catcher's glove. Just
my shoes are leather, my belt is leather, a nice watch band is leather, my wallet is leather. It makes sense. Let's get some of these natural things onto the
We just got
devices.
too many cows in this country. You're going to get rid of them one way or another.
That's exactly right. We have a big cow overpopulation problem. Now, I keep making the same stupid denim joke, and I'm tired of it. I want another alternative material for the back of my phone. Maybe fleece. I want a fleece Moto X.
Well,
with an embroidered treatment, an embroidered
Velcro's my go-to option.
Oh, dude.
That'd be nice.
Joe, I know you're with me on this. Velcro and have a Velcro strip on your pants so that you can slap it on there like a communicator.
Or failing that, a back
pants.
That's a Lego plate.
I'm doing this. Nice.
Lego even better.
Lego. That would be great. And Legos would hold up to abuse really well.
Yes, they would. ABS is very resilient.
Yeah.
And if you ever dropped it on the floor, you would never step on it because, come on. Wow. Stepping on Legos?
Yeah, that would hurt. But they survive. You never break Legos. Broken Legos are not really a thing, so. Wow.
We need to patent that.
Lots of speculation in the comments on this story. This is going to be cool. I think the Moto X+1 is going to be a very interesting thing. Going to have plenty of time to talk about it in the weeks ahead, the months ahead, really. And that being said, we're done with Android. Let's put it aside until we get back to listener mail. Let's hump into a little bit of Windows news before listener mail. Windows. Surface Mini. This is a tablet that is apparently happening. I say apparently because we have yet to receive confirmation that we're attending this event, but it looks like May 20th there will be an event in New York City for the announcement of the Surface Mini, the unveiling of the Surface Mini, rather.
Now, this is the article that Tony wrote, right?
Correct. Yes, that's right.
Dude, the leader image on this, combined with the headline, is epic.
Actually, yeah, it is.
For those of you who haven't seen it, and please go out and look. It was from May 7th. The article's titled "Surface Mini to be powered by Qualcomm, multiple slates expected on May 20th." And the leader image is this, I'm going to say that's dad and his daughter standing on top of a trackpad looking at this ginormous screen.
It's huge.
Okay,
Surface Mini.
Surface.
I feel like I should get some credit here. We have been using this image way too much. Our last 3 Surface Mini stories use this. I started this trend back in April, so
beautiful.
Credit where credit's due.
Okay, I didn't mean to take from your thunder.
Yeah.
Normally, I don't like to do too much inside baseball on the podcast, but I want to let everyone know that we're doing what we can to attend this event. I've asked Adam Lane to reach out to our contacts. We have stronger, we cover a lot more Windows Phone stuff than straight up Windows stuff, so maybe makes a bit of sense that we are not confirmed for this event yet. But if we can make it, we will certainly make it, folks.
Who would go, though, Joe?
No, Adam Lane would have to go.
Out on the West Coast?
No, it's in New York.
Oh, I just assumed because it was Microsoft.
Oh, no, it's in New York. Yeah, no, they go to where
yeah.
They go to where the people are.
It would be really great. I would love to. So, Microsoft people, if you're listening, let us know. But, Stephen, I understand that the Surface Mini might drop one key hardware feature, and maybe I won't believe what it is. Will you tell us?
Put key in some big air quotes there, but
this is hilarious.
Sarcastices.
This is the most like upworthy headline you've ever written. What is it, Stephen? I had to click on your article to find out.
It's the any key. They're dropping the any key.
Well,
nice joke.
The Surface tablets have always had this integrated kickstand. You didn't need to have. Everyone probably should have a cover on their tablet helping protect it, getting in one of those cool keyboard add-ons. But for the Surface, you could just make do with Surface tablet alone, swing out that little kickstand, enjoy it standing up on your desk or something. The Mini might not have that option anymore. But really that kind of makes sense because smaller device, you're not going to be sitting a couple feet back from it.
No, this is messed up. Are you kidding? I actually didn't. I didn't read your story. So I actually needed you to tell me. I wasn't being like, "Hey, podcast." No, I was like, "Steven, you need to tell me." Are you effing serious? They're going to remove the kickstand?
Yeah, that's what they say.
This is crap. That is the coolest part of the freaking Surface.
Selling my Microsoft stock.
I'm flipping this table over. No, it's a booth. I have no room. Holy garbage. I am so mad at if this is true, I'm going to be very irritated.
I get it, though. I mean, at some point, there's a device size where kickstands don't make sense. We used to...
not true.
No, come on.
The Evo 4G was a 4.3-inch device, and the kickstand was the most useful part of that phone. And that was a good phone.
You don't see them on phones
I know you don't see them anymore. No, it wasn't. It was beefy. I couldn't break the thing. I beat up the Evo.
You didn't try hard enough.
Kickstands should never have gone away. They are the smartest thing on any form factor, except for flip phones.
And TVs.
No, TVs, that would be awesome too. Let me move the TV real quick. Okay, just adjust the angle of the kickstand. And in fact, we were getting advanced with kickstands at one point where you had ones that popped out and gave you multiple angle options.
I'm not saying
the
that
Surface
they're
2
not
has that.
Useful, but I mean, they take up space. And I cannot look at these things without constantly being in fear of breaking them.
These big Surface ones that are like...
Yeah, even the Surface one.
No.
I feel like I'm going to lean on it, it's going to bend the wrong way, and I had the same problem with flip phones.
I think one of my first editorials was talking about was praising kickstands and wondering where they all went, because I was just about to say I want to write a piece on this, but I think I already did in 2012. But man, all right, listen, we're going to come back to this.
Statute of limitations editorials is what, 18 months?
It's about 18 minutes, I think.
I was going to say it's 18 days tops.
It's funny because sometimes we recycle without knowing it, and it's like Adam Dowd thinks notification lights are underrated. I'm like, oh wow, I thought that 3 weeks ago. What the hell happened?
Why is this so easy to write this time around?
Copy and paste.
So that's crazy. We're going to circle back to this, Stephen. Maybe Joe as well, if you're not busy. You guys come back on the show in a couple weeks when we know whether the Surface Mini has dropped this or not. Stephen, if you had to rate this 1 to 10, what do you think? You think this is accurate or not?
It makes sense. So just based on that, I'd give it a 7.
I actually am flushed about the face. I'm angry. I'm really mad. All right, forget it. Let's close this tab. I'm tired of that. Let's not talk about that anymore. Surface Mini might be coming. Listener mail?
Listener mail.
Wonderful stuff. Well, this is good because this will boost my spirits again. But before we get to reading the letters, I want to talk a little bit about listener mail, everyone. We love getting to it. I am very happy to read it. And we do read every piece that we get, even if not a lot of them make it to the air. So whenever you compliment us and stuff like that, we really appreciate it and thank you. And I'm sorry we don't have time to individually reply to all of them. It hurts my feelings a little bit to get mail that's too long, because we cannot read mail that's too long on the air. And we get 1,000-word pieces of mail from you guys, and some of them are really well thought out, and it's wonderful, but we can't read them because we just don't have the time.
You know what we should do?
An all-listener mail podcast again?
Well, no, just make all listener mail come through via tweet.
That's a good call.
Sum up your stuff in 140 characters or less.
Man, well, 140 is a little light, but if we could do like a 150 word limit, I think that would be okay. But that's an interesting thing to do. But Stephen, if we did it that way, we'd have to have a Twitter account for the podcast itself, and that would get really annoying. And speaking of which, some other podcasts have done that, and some of those other podcasts haven't made a new podcast in a while. My Stitcher feed is mainly tech podcasts, and a lot of them have actually not had a new show in quite some time. So I'm really glad that all you guys out there in the podcast audience land are still listening to us, and I appreciate that. And we'll continue kicking out shows every week, even though sometimes it alternates days because we're so insanely busy. So,
feel free to live tweet as you're listening to it, because
I miss your live tweets.
One person doesn't have enough time to do it anymore.
Okay.
So
you did it the best too. Oh, Joe, I forgot that you used to live tweet the show. It was so much fun.
But we don't air it live. How does it even work?
Well, he live tweets his listening, and then that was so great. Anyway, yes.
And the words just out of context. It was beautiful.
Great.
It was beautiful.
If you cannot fit, listeners, your mail into one, do separate emails, because we'll get emails with hey, I have 16 questions. Here's my first one. Here's my second one. I'm like, we can't do that, so just fire separate emails. A lot of other people do it. It's great. Letters should be of general interest to all. So generally, if you're sending us a mail that says, hey, should I buy this phone or that phone, we're not going to do it. I understand it's a very important buying decision. That's why we do as many comparison videos as we do. However, it's a very difficult thing to make interesting to anyone else aside from the person trying to make that decision. So, unless it's a really popular question, then we'll do it. But and thank you once again for all your mail. So, I am done talking. I am tired of my own voice. Stephen, would you like to read our first piece of mail?
Yeah, let's get started.
Good.
We got a mail here from Carlos Moreau. Writes in, hey, Pocketnow crew. As always, great job of the podcast and excellent getting the HTC One review out in record time. Well,
Thank you.
I can't take responsibility for that, but
Sure you can.
Mr. Fisher here.
You helped.
Anyway, my question is for Joe, for anyone who can answer and read it thusly. If Windows 8 runs both x86 and RT apps, Windows RT runs on ARM chips, Windows Phone 8 runs on ARM chips, and the Xbox One runs on x86 hardware, why have we only seen mild integration between platforms on software? Sure, lots of services are shared, like Music, Sky, OneDrive, but why doesn't Windows Phone 8 run RT apps and vice versa? If the Xbox One runs the quote-unquote same hardware as a PC, why doesn't that run RT or phone apps? Is this short-sightedness on behalf of Microsoft, or is the market not ripe for a truly cross-platform service like the one I'm thinking about? Or is the hardware maybe not adequate for this much integration? I'm also surprised Sony hasn't done this beyond PlayStation Mobile, which still hasn't launched on PS3 or PS4. And Apple might actually be the closest to getting that done, but it hasn't offered a gaming platform yet. Keep up the good work, guys. Carlos.
Take it away, Joe. I don't even understand the question, so you go ahead.
I have opinions on this, too.
Okay.
That's not surprising,
You guys both talk about this. I don't even know what any of this is about. Go ahead.
Okay, you've got two main things interacting together. One is the whole ARM versus x86 architecture, and we will talk about that a little bit on Pocketnow Power Users, so stay tuned for that. Nice little plug in for that.
Very subtle.
Yeah. You can't run apps that are written for x86, which is a CISC-based infrastructure on an ARM or a RISC-based architecture. It's two different instruction sets. You just can't do it. Now, you may be able to run an emulator or something that steps in between to try and do it for you, but that's not native. That's some weird amalgamation. So that's the first challenge. The second challenge that you have is there are essentially two different interfaces that you are using from a physical standpoint. One is the desktop with keyboard and mouse, and one is more mobile with touchscreen. And writing an app that works on one is usually not going to work well on the other. You know, your mouse and your finger they don't work the same.
So Microsoft decided to ruin its desktop OS by making it all touch-based.
Yes, and that's the issue that they're running into right now. Is Windows 8, I had it on the machine I'm using right now. I absolutely hated it, completely hated it, because some apps worked on, and then it was x86, some apps worked on the touch type look and feel, and then there was everything else that was keyboard and mouse based and related. Microsoft's got a huge problem with all of this legacy software that's written for keyboard and mouse, that by having the Windows name, you'd expect it to run anywhere on any other Windows thing, which Windows RT isn't desktop Windows, Windows Phone isn't desktop Windows, so obviously it's not going to work, but they did themselves a disservice by naming everything Windows. The big issue that they have there is integrating all of these very separate things, separate environments, separate ways of using them, and separate programs that have been written to work. And the best illustration of how to do that right is the way Apple did it. Apple said, you know what, Mac OS is our desktop and server OS, and that's great, and it'll continue to do that until it doesn't anymore. But for our mobile stuff, iPhone, iPad, all that other stuff, we're going to do a new OS with a new interface, and if you want to write an app for that, you have to write it separately. So there is none of this cross-platform stuff and cross-platform confusion. iOS is separate from macOS. The apps are separate. Ta-da! It works. And Windows is trying to not do that because they've got so many people, especially enterprises and corporations, that have so much invested in old traditional Windows, they just couldn't do it. So that's kind of the why. Now, to your question, are they going to integrate? Yeah. Eventually, we're going to have one code base that runs everywhere, and it'll just have a different look and feel for an Xbox paddle versus a keyboard and mouse versus a tablet with a touchscreen. But it will all, this is my prediction here, everybody, it'll all just work. You write it once, it'll work anywhere that they want to distribute it.
Steven, is that in line with what you were thinking?
Yeah, a couple points. This situation now where it seems like there's this great possibility for convergence that's just not happening isn't really anything new. And we can go back a decade here. And the original Xbox, probably even more than the Xbox One, was essentially a PC. And yet at the time we still didn't see Microsoft doing a lot of situations where the same software was running on both. They were very different systems.
It was a Pentium 3800, in fact.
It was a Celeron, wasn't it?
Depends on who you ask. The original Xbox was somewhere between a Pentium 3 and a Celeron.
Forgot about the Celeron brand. That is awesome.
But yeah, like Joe mentioned, this is definitely the direction that Microsoft is heading. And we've already seen progress with the Windows Phone Store, the way apps are being packaged. It's already getting stuff ready where it's not to the elegant point now where the same code runs on all the hardware. It's sort of like what Apple does with its universal binaries, where it packs in the same code to run on multiple things into one package. So to the end user, it seems like it works anywhere. It's a pain in the ass for developers. That's kind of where they are now, but it's going to get better, and Microsoft is definitely headed in this direction. I mean, Windows Phone 8, switching to the kernel for Windows 8 and all that gave it the starting point it needs to eventually get to this place where the RT stuff is running on the phone, vice versa. We've heard a lot of rumors about what might be happening in the phablet space if we're going to start seeing crossover between phone and RT apps. I'm not sure what the timeline might be, but it's going to get there. We're in that direction. I'm
very grateful to both of you for answering that question intelligently while I took notes about something else. Next
Are
one.
you done taking notes? Can we move on?
We're waiting. You're the leader, dude. We're waiting for you.
I'm done taking notes. I just thought I'd let that dead air sit there for a second and make everyone a little uncomfortable.
No, that's because our listeners are also taking notes, and we wanted to give them time to catch up.
You won't believe what happened next. Eli Carlos, thank you for your question that I did not understand. I'm glad Joe and Stephen did. Eli Cantel asks, "Hey, Pocketnow team. I love the podcast. Thank you. I was wondering about the graphical quality of smartphone games. I know they try to make it more inclusive by having worse graphics so the old phones can handle it. Is that true? But why not have a graphics option like on PC?" Nice succinct question. Another one I do not know the answer to. And actually, Joe, I will ask you to answer this, or at least kick off your answer. Stephen, you can chime in a second, by telling us what a graphics option on a PC is. Are we talking about a hardware bin type thing? Or are we talking about what is a graphics option on PC, quote unquote?
Well, I know this isn't the type of game that Eli is talking about, but I am currently playing the latest version of SimCity, and I love the crap out of that game. I'm addicted to it, so I'm practicing to be a mayor, I suppose. I don't have the world's best graphics card in my computer, but what I have is good enough to give me good quality. If I want better quality, I can replace my graphics card, bump up the resolution so things look more real. I have higher frame rates. The shadows are more realistic. The lighting is more realistic. The buildings look more real. So when you take it away from SimCity, which is kind of supposed to be more toy-like from its design, and you go up to something that's more real. A lot of your first-person shooters, the Crysis engine and whatnot, where realism is really what they're focusing on. That's where I think this question is coming from, and I simply don't have the video card in my PC to be able to handle it. I could, I'm just not into those games. So I could play those games on this video card, but I'd suffer, frame rates would be slower, so it would be a little bit more jerky. The lighting wouldn't be as good. The detail, the shadows, the physics, it's just going to be pared down. So I can still play the game. It's just not going to be as real. It's not going to be as nice of an experience. So move that over to smartphones. A smartphone is essentially just a little computer that you carry around in your pocket, or your holster in your case, Michael. So Why can't you do this
anymore? Not anymore. Just the Velcro stripe on the pants.
Now it's just
it's
the
in a
Velcro
fanny
pants.
pack. It's totally cool.
Which means something entirely different to our Australian listeners, but we won't go there.
Yeah.
So why not do that on smartphones? Very simply put, you can. We're not quite to the point where we have high-end gaming graphics in our smartphones and tablets. We're getting pretty darn close, but we can. Developers can write that, and they can put it in there. The difference really between the two comes with file sizes.
Yeah.
So when you need to have all of this realism, you've got to have really big files, really big bitmaps that you're putting on for textures and whatnot. And look, you've got, a 16-gig phone, maybe an 8-gig if you're entry-level stuff. If you're lucky, you've got 32. How many games can you fit on there before you're literally out of space? On even my Nexus 7, I could put 2 games, and that was it, because they were so big. And that wasn't even with the really high realism. So I don't think it's that the hardware can't handle it from a graphics perspective. I think it's just we don't have the storage space on them to be able to do it. Not yet, anyway. Once we start getting into 256, 512 meg, maybe even bigger than that on our mobile hardware, I think we'll start seeing a lot more realism in games.
Good answer. I like it. Before we move on to the next one, Stephen, you got another bit of input?
Yeah, a few points I wanted to hit there. One, a lot of the options you see on PCs for setting graphics hardware they come from two different sides. One is stuff like rendering distance and particle effects that's going to be mediated by what your graphics hardware is, what it's capable of. The other side, it's still related to that, but it's going to concern the game resources, like Joe mentioned. When you want higher polygon count models, you want larger textures; those take more spaces, and more space. And when you have your game coming on a Blu-ray or it can fit on your terabyte hard drive, there's a lot more room to put all that stuff in there. So same thing Joe was saying there. As far as why we don't have the settings on phones, I can sort of see two reasons for that. One being that phone users have a lot less control over their graphics hardware. Until we get Project Aura and can pop in new GPUs at our pleasure, we're stuck with what's there. And anytime you see options like that and you can't take advantage of them, it's so frustrating. On a PC, maybe like Joe said, he doesn't have a great video card. He can maybe only set it to medium quality settings, but he could always go out and buy a nice high-end NVIDIA card or something, put it in there, and start taking advantage of stuff. With a smartphone, you're stuck with what you got. So I can see not wanting to even present the user with those options. And that sort of leads me into my final point here. In general, the smartphone experience is kind of, I don't want to say dumbed down, but it's supposed to be easy. It's supposed to just work. And I think developers make a lot of conscious decisions not to give users a lot of these options. They would rather have a medium case scenario that's good for a lot of users without necessarily giving everyone the options to tweak it to the extent they might have on the PC. I think that's just a different mindset for smartphone apps versus PC apps. But
I'd agree with that entirely.
There's nothing there that I can dispute. The only thing that I can say is that, listeners, if you are like me and are enjoying this brief journey, this brief jaunt into very, very intense tech land, you are about to enjoy it for one more question. And then I have one piece of mail that I want to answer about Windows Phone, just to change things up before we close things out. But first, we want to ask about wearables. And we're going to ask these same gentlemen a very specific question from Garth Power, which I will read. Hi, Pocketnow peoples. One thing that has waved around in my head is the reasoning for Samsung to go with Tizen for their wearables. The Galaxy Gear had a Cortex A-series clock at 800 megahertz, Exynos I believe, with the Gear Fit running the Cortex M-series, which generally can't push more than 200 megahertz. What's more is the Cortex M-series uses a slightly different instruction set and are used for completely different purposes. Can the Cortex M-series handle a cut-down version of Android? Keep having fun, because life would be boring otherwise. Garth. Oh. Good call, Garth. That's a good point.
Party on, Garth.
Indeed.
I mean, what an awesome name. Both Garth and Power. I mean, awesome
That is a really badass name. I agree. It's awesome. So, Joe, I don't know if you have an answer to this, But if you do, I would love to hear it. Can the Cortex M series handle a cut-down version of Android? And to a lesser extent, is this why Tizen has been implemented on the wearables?
To the first question, and then I'll get to that one, Samsung, I believe, is going with Tizen because they can. It's their own thing. They're cooking in-house. They have a lot more control over it. They don't have to worry about licensing and whatnot that they may have to with Android. And the way that they're pushing their TouchWiz, it's allowing them to create their own kind of look and feel so that they could potentially switch over to Tizen as the OS behind it and people wouldn't notice.
Yeah,
or at least I think that's their thought.
That was the prevailing theory before the big Google Samsung powwow, but now nobody really knows what the story is.
Yeah, and the future's unwritten. Who knows? That could still be a direction. So now to the second half of the question, the Cortex M and the cut-down version of Android. Look, this is 200 megahertz is still a very beefy processor, but it's not compared to what we need for today's modern OS. So if you have an Android, which is a very capable operating system, it comes with a lot of overhead because it can do a lot of things. If you want something that can do that can last longer, doesn't take as much power on your wrist, doesn't have to be recharged as often, you've got to get rid of some of that. Now, that might be taking some stuff out of Android that Android could otherwise do, or it could be like what Pebble's done, where they just created their own OS. And I know they didn't really create their own OS, but shut up. They've modified this OS to their purposes, and it does exactly what they need it to do and nothing more. So they have a lot of control over it. Battery and whatnot is the main advantage that they get from that. And in this case, they can still make it look as good as what you could on an Android or some other type of OS, and nobody's going to notice. So why are they going with Tizen? Because they went with a 200 megahertz processor, and I'm assuming that's the clock speed of it. I didn't fact check that, but it runs on a smaller system requirement than you could with an Android.
Good stuff. Stephen, anything to follow up on there?
No, I mean, it could be possible. Android's open source. You can compile it for other processors if you want to. It would be a huge pain in the ass with very little payoff. And I mean, I'm just balking at the aspect ratio of the screen on the Gear Fit. Nothing would look right on there. So
well, you'd also lose one of the biggest advantages of Android, and that's that whatever runs on one Android runs on another Android. And here it obviously wouldn't, because it has to be a very trimmed down version.
Could all you hear the asterisk in Joe's comment there?
Yeah, the sarcasterisk. All right, well, let's move on to our final piece of listener mail here. This is from Alex Dean. This is a pretty long one, so I'm going to see what I can do to cut it down. By the way,
every other word, every third word.
That's what we'll do, yes.
Leave out the vowels.
I question Windows U hopefully experiences able it. I think we can go with that. You want to comment that for the entire listener?
Perfect.
Let's get deep with that. Yeah.
Considering phone platform as system. I want to make the point that I understand exactly the irony of opening up the listener mail segment with an appeal to have people submit broadly applicable questions of interest to a wide audience, then immediately following it up with 3 very, very specific techie questions.
Do as we say, not as we do. Come on.
I just want to acknowledge that. I didn't want to leave that sitting there unacknowledged.
And make sure you keep it short, too. Make it as broad as you can, but short.
Right. I just wanted to say that we don't get Joe on the show very often, and every time we do and I announce it, there's always a couple people on Twitter who are like, "Oh, yay, Joe's back." So Joe has a very well-anchored fan base, and they tend to like their serious questions answered. So I like to get around to him every now.
Both of you, thank you very much. And Mom, I haven't forgotten it's Mother's Day.
It is Mother's Day, by the way.
Is it?
Important announcement. Well, it's Sunday, it is, yeah.
Oh, geez.
So make sure you send a card or a gift or both to your mother.
Flowers and chocolate.
My birthday was yesterday. Do I have to do both?
Yes.
Man.
Yes. Jeez. Gee, go do it now. You're dismissed.
And for our international listeners, it's a good tradition to start up in your own country as well. So just
it's in many countries.
And they're all different dates.
They're all on different days. Yeah,
international standards, people.
As Phone Arena just taught me, I know, weird. Most countries celebrate it around this time.
Yeah.
Bizarre, right? Anyway, the main point of my question, says Alex Dean, is this in his third paragraph. Since the core specs are pretty identical based on your experience with these devices.
Core specs between what?
The Lumia 1520 and the Lumia Icon / Lumia 930. Which of these devices would you recommend I make as my next purchase? This is a good example of one of those other emails I said not to send, but this one is important because it's a compelling question if you're looking at a Lumia. You have a 1520, which used to be the one you'd get if you needed the absolute top shelf specs in Windows Phone. You didn't necessarily need to get it for the big old display, but you got it because it was the only thing with a Snapdragon 800, or a lot of people did. But now we have the Icon. We have this 930/Icon that fills that gap without being a monster slab, which is what the 1520 is. So some of Alex's concerns are, so he says, he's seen our 8.1 rundown. He's happy to see that it's been sort of well received. Considering the platform, he's a little concerned that the Icon lacks a microSD card support, and of course the glance functionality is not there. The persistent floating clock in standby and the double tap to unlock and all that stuff. So, but he's also concerned that the 1520 is a massive device, and he's not sure if a phone that big would suit his needs. So which one should I make as my next purchase? Keep up the good work with the podcast. It's a couple hours easy listening. Makes it feel like I'm at the bar with you guys talking tech over a few beers. That's awesome. Any chance Daniel Rubino could appear in the next feature? That's Daniel from Windows Phone Central. Actually, don't know Daniel. I've never met him. Met a couple of the guys from Mobile Nation. So
this sounds like a good opportunity to find out.
Yeah, it would be fun.
Get to know him.
Yeah, I think the next major Windows Phone event I'll ask him. I'll see if I meet him at a trade show, because I've been meaning to meet him anyway. They do good coverage over there.
Wait a minute. You're going to recognize who he is and introduce yourself like you have with...
Run up, give him a big hug.
I agree. There you go.
Hi, brother.
Who was it that you were sitting right across from and didn't remember who that was?
Oh, Guy Kawasaki.
Oh, yeah, okay. Just a small name in the industry. Sarcastices.
Well, I was new. What do you want? It was like my first press event. I was just pretending like I knew what I was doing. Oh, who are you again? Oh, Guy Kawasaki. Oh, that sounds like fun.
Guy's amazing. I saw him at Mix way back in the day. Oh, wow. Great guy.
Yeah, no, it is very cool. But Alan, to answer your question, if it were me, I would get the Icon. The 1520 is massive. What, Stephen?
Great guy.
Oh, yes,
no pun intended. Guy. Oh my god! I did not mean that, yes. Mr. Kawasaki, sir. I didn't mean that, because we know he's listening to the show.
Absolutely, yeah. Guy listens to every Pocketnow Weekly. Alex, I'd get the Icon. It sucks not to have glance. Yes, absolutely. But in the U.S., you get the proper wireless charging standard. Of course, overseas, it's not going to be the same problem with the UFG and the 1520. Micro SD, I don't know, man. I'm a Spotify guy. I'm a Pandora guy. I'm a Netflix guy. I have no real need for local storage aside from games. And I know. And the 32 gigs of onboard storage in the Icon does it fine for me. I'm not sure if the 930 lines up perfectly with that, but whatever.
What processor's in the 930?
It's the same thing. It's the Snapdragon 800 across the board.
Okay. So there's my answer right there. Is if there were a deciding factor between the two, it would be processor. If they're both running Snapdragon 800 series, it doesn't matter. Go with the one that you think fits your hand best. Yeah,
and if you're concerned about a 6-inch, here's the thing. Alex, if you are concerned about a phone being too big, the 1520 is already not the phone for you. It's a surfboard. I mean,
you have to ask.
Yeah, I
1520 is the inches on the screen that it feels like.
Seriously, it's a 6-inch screen, but I mean, it feels even way bigger than the Flex. It feels bigger than the Galaxy Mega. It feels bigger than everything. And I don't say that to say that it's a crap device. It's a really good device. But if you are at all doubtful about carrying a big phone, the 1520 should be at the bottom of your list because it's huge. So there's your thing. It's 209 grams. I mean, it's massive, too. It's just a beast. So
I don't know what that means off the top of our head.
You don't? I think in grams now. I think in mass. When I go to a site, if I'm trying to write a review and I don't know the specs offhand and I don't have a review sheet, I'm like, what's the specs? And if the first site I come to has a table with American inches, American units of measure, or what do you call that? Imperial units of measure? Yeah, I'm like, I don't know what to do with this. Inches, ounces. get out of my face. So.
Newtons, kilopascals.
Joules. How many megajoules is in this battery?
How many rods to the hogshead?
Indeed.
1.21 gigawatts.
That's nice. So I think that hopefully, Alex, that answers your question. Thank you for submitting it and for helping us end the show on a Windows Phone note. We like to mix it up a little bit. I'm thinking, guys, and I'm talking to you, Stephen and Joe. You know how I was doing that Pocketnow roundup for a few weeks?
As opposed to the other guys on the phone.
Well, you know, not the audience. Suppose I was going to ask the audience a rhetorical question. I'm thinking, remember how I used to do that Pocketnow roundup? And I was like, hey, it's Friday. Here's a video with all the editorials we did. Go read them. Well,
yes, please do that.
Okay, that's a lot of work, and I don't mind doing it, but I haven't had the time to do it recently. The thing is, what if I built that into the weekly? Because there's a lot of editorials that sort of get glossed over otherwise, which I would like to point listeners to. Because I know, listeners, there are many of you out there who listen to the show but don't visit the site. So if I did the Pocketnow Roundup as part of the Pocketnow Weekly, Stephen and Joe, would that be a good idea? Like at the end.
Wow.
Here's what's happening this week at Pocketnow.
I don't write editorials anymore. I don't have a horse in this race.
You don't have a dog in this hunt. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so my thoughts on it, and this is just spitballing because we haven't rehearsed this, and you might think my idea is stupid, in which case I think you're stupid.
Wow.
So what I would like to see is if we're not going to do the traditional roundup like you've been doing, which has been beautiful, and I love that, by the way. If we're not going to do it that way, then why not do just an audio version of that and include it separately so that we don't have this go off on tangents and stuff, and then you can just include that as a clip in the show, whether it's the beginning or the end.
Because it's not a bad idea, Joe, but like 2 podcasts is we can barely keep the weekly running on a week.
Oh no, I'm not talking 2 podcasts.
So
I'm talking a segment in this podcast, but pre-recorded.
That's what I'm talking about.
Well, that's what I'm talking about.
Well, then it seems like we're on the same page.
Well, okay.
Listeners, you tell us what you think. If you think it's a good idea, drop us a frickin' email. And by the way, we are sort of running low on podcast email, not because the volume has diminished, but because according to the certification methods I laid out at the top of the listener mail segment, we can't read a lot of them on the air. They're too specific or they're too long or they're whatever.
They haven't made it through the vetting process.
Yeah, and also, by the way, there are a couple emails that I am holding for our next listener mail only show. So if you wrote us a book in like February, it is possible we're still going to read it because I'm holding a few of them as unread because they're really good. We just don't have time to seriously. They're like 1,500 words. I'm like, oh man.
We need to get celebrities to read the voices.
Yeah. Oh, that sounds like
Sean Connery reading.
Yes, that would be actually fun.
Oh, last week or 2 weeks ago on the podcast? 2 weeks ago, you had that idea for the poll about who should be the voice of our virtual assistants.
Yes.
And I ran that last Friday, and it should be done by now. I haven't checked it in a few days. I wonder who the winner is.
Can we do that? Can we announce this? Is this breaking news?
Dumbledore.
Yeah.
Dumbledore.
Pocketnow voice interface.
The results. All right. So our winner here with 22% of the overall vote, Cortana, Jen Taylor, as she is.
Really?
Wow.
Yeah. After that, we got Morgan Freeman.
It's a fix. Rig.
That's a little under 17%, Morgan Freeman. Yeah, then we have at 11% people wanting the Iron Man experience with Paul Bettany doing the voice of Jarvis.
Yeah, I voted for Jarvis.
That's cool.
Hey, rounding up 4th place, Mr. Michael Fisher.
Fourth, people want me to be their voice.
They want you more than they want Scarlett Johansson.
No way.
Wow.
Cannot lie.
Wow. I do not want me more than I want Scarlett Johansson, but that's okay.
By the way, every time I hear Scarlett Johansson mentioned anywhere, I think of the outtake that you included in that video way long ago.
I'd forgotten about that a long time ago. That was before I developed strong feelings for her as a result of seeing the Avengers. Because that was before I saw Iron Man or the Avengers or anything like that. It was like I just kind of threw out a celebrity name because my brain wasn't working, and now I have
no idea what you're referencing.
A lot of emotional investment. What? I don't know.
So that was a long time ago too. I don't even remember what video it was, but that was back when we were just playing with doing bloopers and outtakes in our videos, and
yeah, that was a while
all of a sudden,
I don't remember.
All of a sudden, just Michael throws out.
Make sure to follow
Scarlett Johansson.
I couldn't remember the Twitter address I was trying to pimp.
Yeah. That was Pocketnow, by the way.
Be sure to follow at Pocketnow.
Yeah.
Well, cool. That's awesome. How did Majel Barrett Roddenberry fare on that? Was she somewhere less
1.4%?
Oh, that was me. Okay. Sweet.
I'm sorry. I would have voted her or Deanna Troi. Marina. But Jarvis, come on, Jarvis.
Computer voiced.
Right. What? No. You're forgetting one thing, Michael. The fan series that's out. What is it that you pointed me to?
Oh, right.
Okay. She is the computer voice of the future in the past.
That's not canon.
What?
Right. Nothing. Before we confuse Steven anymore, I think we should call an end to this podcast.
It's more canon than JJ Trek.
No, it's not.
We'll leave it at that.
No, it's not. That is some horse. All right. We're gonna be done. All right. Gentlemen, thank you for joining me today. I think
Pocketnow and Star Trek podcast.
It's TGIF. If we had the rights to it, I would go out with the ABC TGIF music right now because it's 6:55 p.m. We're an hour away from 2 decades ago.
Getting how it's done, TG.
Yeah, it's Friday night and the mood is right.
Yeah.
Gonna have some fun. Show you how it's done, TGIF. Indeed. Well, it is not the truth though. I'm going to write a review script and then write a comparison script because I'm working tomorrow. But what are you guys doing? You're getting in trouble, Joe? We know you're hotel camping. What are you doing, Steven?
I don't know. I'm playing with a laser. That's kind of got me interested for the next couple of minutes, I think.
Wait, you're...
I have the attention span of a cat.
Okay, good. Listen, I hope, Steven, that you find a nice Chili's and you have a good time.
Ooh.
You know what's funny? Like, Steven, you and I can hear each other so well, but Joe is being courteous and is letting us know in the chat that we sound like robots. But I got news for you, Levi. It's you, brother. It's you.
Robots are the future, Joe. Get on board.
Come on. We're going to sign off. That's going to do it for this meandering episode of the Pocketnow Weekly, but we thank you for joining us and for putting up with our occasional sojourns into the weeds. Again, thank you for all your listener mail every week. Send it to us, more of it, lots of it, at podcast@pocketnow.com. Find us on Twitter. Joe is at Joe Levi. Taylor's at Steven Shank. Steven's at Steven Shank. Taylor was not on this podcast.
Let's trade up, though.
I am at Captain Two Phones. Follow Pocketnow officially on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and Google+. We're Pocketnow and all those places. And if you enjoy the podcast, I don't just say it for my health. Please leave us a review on iTunes, Xbox Music, wherever reviews are left. It helps us out a whole lot. One more time, thank you so much for listening. You are the best audience around. We'll be back with more Mobile Tech Talk next week.
Bye!
See you next time.
Oh, Joe, you're no longer a robot. I'm glad to hear this.
Oh, hey. Both of you were robots for a while, and I'm just going to hit mute and ride this thing out.
I apologize. My riveted chest plate came loose. I had a problem.
How does the Z2 make you feel, Michael?
Purple. Very purple. Ooh. All right.
Because aliens don't wear hats.
Last time, once I cut out some of my more ridiculous meandering and stuttering that happened earlier in the show, because, why take the step of moving to an explicit tag so you can save time on editing, if not to then go make up all that time in editing, taking out your own stumble?
Let's take this part out as well.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay.